This is the Wrestling Inc. podcast. We are live here on YouTube, on Twitch, on Periscope, on MySpace, on Friendster, on Napster. We're just blasting it out all over the interwebs.
AOL Instant Messenger.
Absolutely.
ICQ.
Oh, ICQ. Oh, the deep cut. I'd forgotten about ICQ.
Oh, I'll never forget ICQ. I loved it.
You loved having a number as a screen name instead of a name?
Yeah, and a little flower. Oh,
I hated that. Can you ever get into ICQ? And I was an IRC guy, but I was like, ICQ, that's a little nerdy for me.
Wow.
You know?
Well, did I just out-nerd you?
I think with ICQ, yeah, I think ICQ, that's like, it's like having a CompuServe email address with like numbers in it, you know? We're taking it back here. Taking it back on the Wrestling Podcast. Speaking of which, did you guys watch Fear Street 94, 77, 1666 on Netflix, the trilogy?
Wow, no, I did not. Is that highly recommended?
I wouldn't go that far, but there's three of the movies. But 1994, I and other people are pulling them up because they're using like songs from 95 and 97. They were on AOL Instant Messenger using like a font that wasn't invented till like 2006. Right. Like that stuff just really, really irks me when people, you know, get those details wrong. As an old school computer nerd. Anyhow, NXT tonight, Karrion Kross back to his old stomping grounds. Hey, at least he still goes over in the NXT parking lot.
Yeah, still drives that nice car, so that's good.
Is it really that nice of a car, though? Isn't that like a $30,000?
I think it fits him.
Is that Dodge Charger?
It's a muscle car, you know, for guys that lose to Jeff Hardy. They love to drive muscle cars.
I prefer like a Mad Max type setup for Karrion Kross, but I mean that'll do.
It was a Dodge Charger, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
It's nice, but it's not a Maserati. I mean, it's not, you know, like a Bentley. I mean, you know, you remember that? Did you guys have the friend growing up that was always like trying to impress people because they drove a Mustang? It's like, dude, that's like a $17,000 car. Like, it's really not that impressive.
Yeah, yeah. Mustangs used to be royalty. I mean,
it's step up from like a Geo Coupe, you know, with the soft top. But no, Karrion Kross, I'm annoyed at last night's Monday Night Raw, and now us wrestling nerds are supposed to be like, well, he's still cool, right? He's still undefeated in NXT.
NXT feels neutered. I'm sorry.
Well, now that you guys mentioned it, let's just start off the news with Karrion Kross. I mean, that is a story, and the big story is Karrion Kross, especially among NXT. I guess the wrestling nerds that Glenn referenced aren't the only ones who are upset with Karrion Kross's loss, as within NXT there is shock and frustration. And it's described that, according to Fightful Select, a lot of the talent in NXT, they're not necessarily mad as much as they are disappointed. Guys like Johnny Gargano and Santos Escobar, Kyle O'Reilly, and so on and so forth have really sacrificed a lot to make Karrion Kross pretty much an undefeated giant and monster in NXT, only for him to lose to Jeff Hardy within 3 minutes last night on Raw, which really stirred up Twitter. We'll start with Issa. What did you think? Is there any coming back from this? What are your thoughts on the Karrion Kross debacle?
I mean, everybody can come back from a loss. I do think, like, the problem is that he was undefeated, right? And there's just so much to process. I feel like I have gone back and discussed this out loud so many times, and I still cannot get it to make sense or to get to a place where I can be complacent in what I think will happen, right? He came out, and the energy, even when he came out on Monday Night Raw, you could feel that it was just off. The look on his face didn't look like a person that's debuting in front of all of these people. The excitement wasn't there, right? I did send out a tweet today that said, if you want the people from NXT to feel and be treated like a big deal, start watching NXT. Because right now, they look at them as a non-draw. They're drawing 600,000 viewers a week. It's not good enough. And therefore, that might have been a message sent that says none of you guys are doing anything over there on Tuesday nights for us to really look at you guys like a serious brand. They don't even mention the title wins. They took it away from Charlotte's count. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think but how are you going to get people to go and watch NXT when you get the guy on the show that has 1.9 million viewers and you do him like that? Nobody from Raw last night is going to tune into NXT tonight. Nobody.
And where is Scarlett in all of this?
Yeah, we didn't even see her tonight.
Yeah.
It's very weird. It's very strange. Wasn't there Raw last night?
Yeah. Did you watch the Raw last? Did you watch the episode? Was it enough to compel you?
I was rewatching the movie The First Power after our spirited discussion about it on Sunday night's Money in the Bank. Issa, have you seen the first Power with Lou Diamond Phillips?
No.
There was a serial killer. He gets granted the first power by Satan. He can jump into other people's bodies. It is a riveting thriller from 1990 that apparently only I and the late, great Eazy-E loved this movie. So I was rewatching that Monday. And so we're going to watch Fallen with Denzel Washington, which is essentially the same film.
Great movie. Well, I mean, I feel like the only thing that could save Karrion Kross is to have somebody else jump into his body. Maybe a Hulk Hogan, maybe the spirit of Goldberg, maybe the spirit of Brock Lesnar.
Bray Wyatt.
Because this guy's done. Like, I just thought that last night was a complete referendum on NXT. I just don't understand why they would beat Karrion Kross. I understand that there is that kind of optimistic feeling out there that, he could come back for this. Maybe they do have plans for him to go 50-50 with Jeff Hardy. But you show me the examples, the list of examples of WWE screwing somebody up and then bringing them back from the dead, because it does not happen. And I'm not giving this company the benefit of the doubt. They screwed up The Fiend. We haven't seen him, and we'll get into that. They screwed up Seth Rollins. He had to turn heel, and now he's in a star-spangled suit. They screwed up Otis. He's not coming back. Drew McIntyre is essentially mid-card McIntyre. Rusev. I mean, he was losing on his way out, and now he's in AEW. And you saw what they did with Keith Lee last night. There is no consistent example of WWE screwing somebody up and then revitalizing them for me to believe that they're going to fix this with Karrion Kross. I just thought this was more unfortunate incompetence after a very hot weekend of shows. And I feel bad for Karrion Kross because we talked about this 3 weeks ago when he was on Main Event and he had that weird match against Shelton Benjamin where all the bells and whistles were taken. And it was almost like we were seeing a preview of how they're going to screw him up. And that's essentially what happened.
Yeah, it is exactly what happened. And it feels wrong now for Samoa Joe to come back to the ring to fight this guy. Like, it doesn't even feel like that big of a deal. And Samoa Joe did his best. I read the super chat from Stellar Justin Lopez. Samoa Joe did his best tonight, but to me, it doesn't feel like Samoa Joe should come back to wrestle Karrion Kross right now. I don't know. I can't. That upset me a lot. Even the way that they were just like debuting tonight. I'm like, excuse me? Like it was nothing. I hated that. I'm like, you can't even surprise us. Like when they announced it on a graphic, I was like, this is not heading in a good direction.
Loki superfan Stellar Justin Lopez, love that avatar. $4.99 saying God bless Joe for trying to make the fans forget about that debut. Imagine how fire that ending would have been if not for that bull BS finish. I just had to look this up again. Kevin Owens, when he was NXT champ, beat up John Cena on Monday Night Raw. Karrion Kross immediately. Yes, Karrion Kross lost to Jeff Hardy. What's Jeff Hardy's win-loss record since he's been back with WWE? I imagine more losses than wins.
Yes, and this was a typical. I mean, you just were kind of assuming that because they're bringing this new guy in, because it is Jeff Hardy, who's one of the all-time greats, did get a huge pop. You just assumed that he was going to lose this match because it's not like Jeff Hardy needs that win. It's not like that would have hurt him to lose to a guy like
Hardy with no more words. He can't lose. Not when he coming out to no more words. Come on.
That's the magic trick.
Easiest thing on earth to do with an NXT debut. You show up, you get the pop, you get the win. That's the no-brainer, right?
Absolutely.
He had no reaction. When Karrion Kross came out, there was no reaction from the crowd. No, people don't know who he is, and you have to remember, people that watch Raw do not watch NXT. They don't. Maybe a quarter of the Raw audience is watching NXT.
And where is Scarlett? Is this like a mannequin situation where she only comes alive within the confines of the Capitol Wrestling Center and her magic does not work outside of that situation? Who knows?
No, she's going to show up as a complete different character on Friday, probably.
Like a mannequin 2 on the move. So we open tonight with Joe dressed to fight.
Got a couple more. I'm just gonna get to a couple more news stories before we
that's right.
get to that. Because there is a status update on Daniel Bryan, in that PW Insider did report that there's no internal WWE discussion in terms of Daniel Bryan's plans moving forward. There is an internal belief that he might be on his way to AEW, though that is not being confirmed. But there are no plans for licensing or merchandising for Daniel Bryan for the 2021-22 season. Glenn, are you here for Daniel Bryan in AEW?
I mean, do you think it's going to be like the Revival in AEW, though? Like,
I consider that kind of a success. I mean, they've had some great tag team matches.
Sure, they've had great matches.
They had great matches in WWE, too. But.
Yeah, but the point, the idea, correct me if I'm wrong, is not, well, this person's very talented. They're a great technical wrestler. We're going to take them over there and let them showcase their skills. The idea, the hope, the fantasy we buy into is they're going to go to a company where that's appreciated and they're going to be top stars because they appreciate those skills and athleticism. I mean, just if you want a stage to show how great you are, WWE is a larger stage than AEW. But if you want to go someplace where you're going to be prioritized and put to the front of the line based on those skills, that is the hope. That is the fantasy. That is what wrestling fans tell themselves at night while they're trying to sleep.
No, I will triple eye roll here because Daniel Bryan doesn't get any more appreciated than Daniel Bryan, who squeezed himself into the main event of WrestleMania because they know what they have on him. So this is not he's going to go to AEW to get treated better. He's not going to get treated any better than what he did in WWE. No way. And I hate to bring this up because I'm so glad he overcame, whatever his injuries were. But AEW is a spot festival. And every time I watch Daniel Bryan wrestle, I worry. There's certain people that I cannot watch wrestle. Edge and Daniel Bryan are two of them, and I will fear for him taking crazy spots and bumps on AEW. I'd rather him stay in WWE. That's just my personal preference.
Yeah, and WWE does prioritize Daniel Bryan for sure. Like I have a pretty good authority. They were really kind of pursuing him to come back and to stay there, but this seems like more of a Daniel Bryan situation. And I definitely agree with Issa in that those AEW guys work a lot harder. It is branded as more of the work rate company. Talk about eye roll, and I'm sure he's going to have a lot of these high work rate matches and whatnot. But you got to understand that Daniel Bryan's a guy who has a history of concussion, history of neck injury, and he really does need to take it easy in terms of picking his spot and picking how hard he wants to work. I've been watching Christian just work his butt off at 40 some odd years, and he just looks blown up at the end of a lot of these matches, the poor guy. Yeah. And I'm sure Daniel Bryan will be able to keep up with them, but AEW, as much as it is good to get guys like Daniel Bryan, maybe they'll get Ric Flair or whatnot. It is also good to get somebody who I think would transcend past that internet wrestling type vibe. Right. That a lot of the hardcore fans will appreciate Daniel Bryan, but that will be a fleeting thing in terms of him signing and really being a top star in AEW, but it will kind of exist in our world and not transcend outside.
Yeah, I think he'll be another Kenny Omega. And I don't mean that as an insult to Kenny Omega, but it's like, look at Jericho, his mainstream recognition. Even look at Cody. Like, Cody's got like mainstream recognition and status. But that being said, I mean, do I want to see Daniel Bryan versus Darby Allin versus MJF versus Sammy Guevara? All these guys, right? Like, there's a lot of great matches to be had with him going there. I just don't know that is the pot of gold at the end of the proverbial rainbow that we all think it's going to be for him.
Right. And I am also pro guys retiring when they're still healthy. And this is the reason why when you have a women's Royal Rumble and you see the women's legends come back, they all look so good because women's are retiring a lot younger. And guess what? They can come back, look good, and they're not retiring when they're falling apart. You see pictures of Brock Lesnar right now living his best life. And it's just like, what's wrong with them retiring? Like, all these guys kind of like achieve everything there was to achieve. So what makes you think that he's not sitting at home looking at his two babies going, maybe I just want to stay home for a little bit? Nothing wrong with that.
Then they could give him 4 matches a year. They could give him like a really sweet contract. He gets to go in and wrestle Kenny, do all those matches we want to see. And maybe he just gets to be like the ambassador for the company. I mean, who knows? But I'm sure WWE would probably pay him more to do even less work than that. It just depends on what he wants and what his needs are at this stage in his career.
Also a great mind for the business. Toward the end of his run, he was pretty much working in the creative team, alongside Edge. So that's something that I think would be just as valuable as his wrestling, as his mind for wrestling. And we'll do one more because there really isn't that much of an update on Bray Wyatt. It's just basically kind of radio silence on there. But the Raw rating was up pretty huge. Stayed under 2 million, but it was up 32.6%. In the 18 to 49 demographic, up 20% overall. So a really good number for Raw, which did 1.967 million, up from 1.609. So, I am impressed somewhat by these numbers in terms of WWE's television number, but they are kind of tempered in terms of, it's not like they're exploding in Raw. I mean, we had some pretty bullish predictions for Raw on the Money in the Bank show, where I thought maybe they'd do 2.3, 2.4, but still having trouble getting over that 2 million threshold. So apparently they're going to really need these returns. And they're also going to need some goodwill. They're going to need probably some good storylines to get people really invested back into the product.
I'm very pleasantly surprised how high they are on Nikki and that she is now the Raw Women's Champion.
Yeah, the show had a great ending. It had a good beginning. I'm just very puzzled by the creative direction on last night's Raw, because if you tell me you had the return of Cena, Goldberg, Keith Lee, NXT champion debuts, you have a cashing and a title change, you expect that to be the greatest Raw you ever seen, and it wasn't. So I'm just like, it's like, how do you have everything on paper but you fail to execute it the right way? I don't know. But I knew they were going to get they announced Cena all over the place. In every single platform they could, they announced Cena, and people were talking about the John Cena return after Money in the Bank. So I knew people would be tuning in. First Raw with fans back in the arena. I do expect a lot of people to start watching wrestling again now that things are normal.
Yeah. What else we got?
That is your news.
That is our news.
Box
There we go.
Let's go, Box. Come on.
So Samoa Joe dressed to fight. TikTok, guess who's coming to smash your clock? A threat to Karrion Kross. William Regal comes out, says Kross is going to be there. Who knows what's going to happen? Man, I want to see this. I really want to. I want to see it a little less now because, dude, but maybe Joe's going over, right? Maybe Joe's going to be the new NXT champ.
I mean, at this point,
that's just kind of way more likely, right? We were saying before he's going to leave NXT undefeated, like he's going to come out, like everyone, curtain call, like the whole nine. They're going to send him up to the big leagues. But no, I think Joe could actually end up winning this.
In canon, between the last couple of nights, I mean, I guess you can consider Karrion Kross undefeated in NXT, and it looks like they're really just kind of treating this as two separate worlds, as ridiculous as it is, because it's one night after another, and we watch both. I mean, they barely reference what happened on Raw with, Samoa Joe said it was a field trip, and they said nothing about him losing. And then they actually, I absolutely remember it. And then, the whole thing with Charlotte Flair, where they're completely erasing her history with NXT. So they're trying to treat it like two different universes. And maybe that's how they feel justified in beating Karrion Kross. But a large audience saw him lose. And even though they're trying their best to make us forget about it, it kind of, that stench lingered in Full Sail tonight.
I have a question. I remember this, and now I'm just trying to put things together in my brain. But was this the episode that was pre-taped?
No. Those
are they pre-taping tonight then? Because there was an NXT that was supposed to be, they were going to do two shows, one live and NXT, pre-tape one. Maybe. So I wonder if this was pre-taped, maybe that's why everything felt so odd, because then they pre-taped that before the Karrion Kross thing even happened. And even if you listen, Samoa Joe told Regal, Karrion Kross showed up on Raw last week. I bet he didn't know about that. So I have a feeling that this was pre-tape, and that is the reason why everything didn't click at all. I don't know. Well, no, because I did see people posting pictures. Maybe they're pre-taping tonight. I just know there's an NXT episode that's going to be pre-taped somewhere, because I remember seeing the pictures of the people there saying, about it. Anyways, regardless, Samoa Joe did his best. Samoa Joe needs to teach promo classes. Anything that man says, I believe, even if I'm laughing after he gets done talking about Karrion Kross, going, well, yeah, he's gonna kill him. If he lost to Jeff Hardy, Samoa Joe's gonna murder him, right? But I didn't like Regal what he said, because I was like, no, Samoa Joe was fully provoked. He has every right, because Regal was like, that's not what I brought you back for. And I'm like, no, you said if he was provoked, he could do it. And I'm sorry, he provoked him. So now let him do his thing, So that is the one thing that I will say, that I was like, Regal, get out of the way. And then look, poor Regal paid the price later.
Yes. We went from that into Diamond Mine versus NXT Cruiserweight Champion Kushida with Bobby Fish. Issa, what did you think of this match?
Why are they losing already? Was the match great? Yeah, we had a lot of excellent in-ring action. When don't we in NXT? But how am I supposed to take the Diamond Mine seriously anymore? Like, the debut, they botched it, and now they botched everything else they done with them after that. Like, I really feel like they don't matter. In ring, though, it was a great match.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that's what you're going to expect with the talent in there. And that was never going to be a question. But yeah, I mean, this Diamond Mine thing is really falling flat, as we've been talking about. And now they've already lost before I feel like they've even gotten a chance to get going. And I just don't think they even understand what it is they bring. Like, you just got to do better than the fact that we're a fight camp. And I mean, there's just really no layers to this whole thing. And the fact that they're already losing here and in a 50-50 with, Kushida and Bobby Fish is a little concerning for the Diamond Mine to me.
Yeah, they added a graphic to Sheamus' entrance that says Fight Night, and that feels more like a fight camp than Diamond Mine. Just saying.
Oh, man. I don't get it. Especially you have Kushida paired in this. Like, not tough to have them take a loss.
Yeah, Kushida didn't have to take the pin. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. LA Knight arrived in his white Corvette with Cameron Grimes. Now, see, a white Corvette, more expensive car. More expensive than a Charger. Not the nicest, but it conveys status, which is what the $1 million champion wants to convey. Oh man, I want to like give. Why isn't the show like half of these guys buddying, doing the butler work and driving around. Takeover 36 was announced for August 22nd. That's going to be a big deal. Yeah. Then we had Frankie Monet versus JC Jane with, you want to say Mandy Rose on commentary. She actually sat on the commentary table during this match.
Red bottoms on and everything.
Yeah, and Frankie Monet got a win, but Frankie Monet has had a maybe not so hostile takeover of the Robert Stone brand.
Yeah, I love that you said that we should get a half of a show about Cameron Grimes and LA Knight, because I felt like tonight, while we had a lot of really good matches, I wasn't entertained. I wasn't sports entertained. I was just in-ring entertained tonight. I think when Hit Row Music said, I was like, well, finally, because I don't know, I felt like there was like a lot of in-ring action. I don't know, there's something, maybe it's because I'm upset about what happened with Karrion Kross. It feels like there's like a missing star factor in NXT, like desperately. Yeah. I mean, like there's nobody that you go, oh my god, this person is let me pay attention to my TV because they command that, Frankie Monet could be that person. I'm really enjoying everything that she's doing. I thought she looked great in the ring, but I think they need to stop putting her against, just enhancement talent and really put her in a significant field.
And not only are they putting her against enhancement talent, a lot of these matches have been very competitive. Like JC Jane got a lot in this match, and she looked good. Like I was actually pretty impressed with JC Jane, but that's not what I want to see out of Frankie Monet if you're going to showcase her.
Right.
And I would rather have seen her squash, but she still looked good and whatnot. And I do agree with Issa in that there is kind of a damper on NXT, and it was just pronounced because of what happened last night with not just Karrion Kross, the NXT champion, losing, the most dominant champion arguably in NXT history, getting beaten by a guy like Jeff Hardy, and then coming back kind of makes the whole product seem like, well, if Karrion Kross loses, it's not like they're doing anything with so-and-so, so why should I be invested? So it was a little bit harder to invest in the overall product because that lingering thought was in my mind 24 hours later.
The entire night. No, you're right.
You know what it's kind of like in sort of just the overall deflation about the relative relevance of NXT? It's like when we found out that the Marvel television thing was a lie and that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and like Daredevil and Jessica Jones and Luke Cage and Iron Fist had nothing to do with the movies anymore. Like it was off in its own little separate universe, no acknowledgement, no appearance in Infinity War, nothing. It felt sort of like when I'm watching something that's lesser because it's not treated on that same level.
Pull the rug from under you, yeah.
Yeah,
that's actually a really good comparison. You're absolutely right. It does feel that way.
I stopped watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. when I was like, this has nothing to do. They're not even in the same universe as the films anymore. But that's the problem with NXT. NXT has been such a hot brand, and this is like just a good example of like 2 steps forward, like 3 steps back from Vince. You have a hot money in the bank, but now, hey, let's alienate our hardcore fan base that's been like keeping us alive. Like that's been the life support through the past year. Let's find a really good way to tell them that like what you believe in and what you support like isn't relevant.
Right. Now that's pretty much the message they sent in terms of what this NXT show is, that like, don't worry about these guys. Like they're not even going to be able to get past a lot of our main roster guys. So this is definitely defined down as like another universe of shows.
Yeah, it's very, very just insulting as a hardcore fan of the product. Some promos, Gargano and Theory tonight, ahead of Theory's match against KOR. We had a stand interview with Bronson Reed that's still building up stuff, his match with Adam Cole for next week. But then we went to Kyle O'Reilly and Austin Theory. Kyle O'Reilly getting a win here. Alfred, what did you think of this match?
Kyle O'Reilly's Ken Shamrock now. That's what they're trying. Like they tried the Cool Kyle thing. It didn't work. They
Cool Kyle
kind of are in the middle of whatever he was doing last week. And now his new gimmick that they're throwing against the wall is he's going to be a guy who snaps. Like he held on to that hold for a long time. And throughout the match, they said, oh God, he's going to snap. So maybe this will be the thing that gets him over. Maybe not. They're kind of starting to run out of chances to really tell me why I should care about Kyle O'Reilly. But I will say this is the most true to the way he wrestles. He does wrestle that physical grappling style. So if they create this guy who's temperamental and he doesn't have to cut promos, maybe this will work.
Yeah, I personally thought it was the best match on the card tonight, like in ring-wise. I'm sorry, I cannot stop laughing because I don't know if you guys caught that, but on Twitter, Matt Riddle was live tweeting NXT tonight, and he was far more entertaining than the show itself with his tweets. And at one point he tweeted, damn, Austin Theory is looking thick, and I could not concentrate on the match anymore after I read that tweet.
Did he spell thick with 2 C's or 1?
with two T's, with two C's.
Hey! You should be shot, man.
Yeah. No, I'm telling you, go on his feet. And then there's like at some point on the night when he finally saw Pete Dunne, he got so excited and started posing next to him on the TV to bring back, they were a tag team. I'm telling you, I'm sorry to admit it, but I was more entertained by like refreshing Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle live tweeting NXT it was superb. He should do it every week.
Yeah, do you think he was perhaps under the influence of a substance?
1000%. There's a couple of videos. You can see it.
I should try that. Alfred, I told the edible story Sunday night.
Try that.
Yeah, next
what
time.
What edible story? What did I miss? You guys have all the fun without me.
There was a Friday night. We got some edibles that were like half THC, half CBD. I took one. I was like, oh, it's okay. And then my wife took one. And then we're like, we're not feeling anything. Okay, we took another one.
No.
So, okay, we're feeling okay. And we're like, no, still not. I'm like, okay, we'll do a third. This is where it's going to kick in. And it felt good. And then about an hour later, I was dizzy. And then about half an hour after that, I was convinced I was going to die. And I was trying to calm myself down by like listening to music. And I was crying uncontrollably while also chastising myself for being such a lightweight at the time. And what's amazing about this is while I had this outer body experience and nervous breakdown, like sobbing in bed, my wife passed out asleep. Hardest sleep of her life.
You probably got the best sleep ever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then when I fell asleep, I kept being afraid that I was going to like stop breathing. It was awful. And then of course I was like, never again. And then like the next night I took like one and had like a mini version of that, but now I've sworn it off. No more of the THC.
You have to pay attention to that. When they tell you, because those edibles look like they're nothing, right? And you don't feel them right away. I remember I had the same experience with edibles the first time, but I learned fast.
Be very careful.
Oh my God.
The girl, it was like this little girl at the store and she was telling me, she was like, only consume this much. And I'm like, what do you know? You're like 10 pounds. That's why you're telling me that, but I got this. No, she was right. She was right. At some point I don't even know. But yeah, similar story. I feel like everybody has a fun story about edibles the first time.
I am such a lightweight. I should just eat a pack of Sour Patch Kids and convince myself I'm high. Like that would probably be a more pleasant experience and be like, oh, I feel like kicking in, I think. Like that episode of Degrassi with JT and Toby on aspirin convinced it's ecstasy. I mean, it's like for me, like, I think that would go psychological goes a long way. But yes, anyhow, so Matt Riddle probably not sober and clear-eyed tonight.
Well, he tweeted that about Austin Theory and he changed the entire match for me. I was like, I can't watch this anymore.
If on Raw, if they promoted like tomorrow NXT, Matt Riddle will be tweeting live, I bet the rating goes up.
I feel like now that you bring that up and because of what you said about the news, how people are disappointed with how this is being treated right now, I do feel that some of the people from NXT really do try, because look at Riddle doing this today. I know Damian Priest have been showing up to the Capitol Wrestling Center and like tweeting that he's there, tweeting pictures. I feel like some of the guys that are trying to help the most that they can by doing what they can with the platforms that they're given. You know what I mean? Because I have noticed a lot of the people that left NXT are still trying to help out in one way or another to kind of like promote it and hype it up.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Speaking of continuity with the other night, Alfred Mauricio Leos wants to know, how was Applebee's?
Applebee's.
Come on, Applebee's. If you're watching, I think this podcast.
Yeah. After those commercials, I think Justin dropped that Applebee's is a spot where the Cougars roam looking for hookups, and Alfred was like, I got to start hitting up Applebee's.
Yeah, I did not get to go to Applebee's that night, but one of these nights I'm going to Applebee's and I will look for the Cougars and I will give you a report as to how that goes.
Please don't eat. Just sit at the bar and order a really big draft that will sit you there for a little while.
Absolutely.
Or you're gonna be sick like Baron Corbin's daughter on spaghetti.
Yeah, the spaghetti looks real nice compared to that Applebee's.
We got a promo building up to tonight's main event with Raquel Gonzalez and Zia Lee. Legado del Fantasma had a mariachi band.
Hey. I felt cheated out of it.
Yeah, it's true.
I did as well, but nobody's ever gonna have a better segment with that than Brock did with Eddie Guerrero, and I don't want anybody else bringing any mariachis, because every time I think of mariachis, I see Brock walking out dancing with the sombrero, and that was like magical. What? Go ahead.
I was just going to say to your point about Brock, do you think there are wrestling fans who watch like the mariachi? They don't even know that mariachi is a thing. They're just like, oh, they're just ripping off Brock Lesnar. Like they don't know that there's actual mariachi.
Right?
I thought they were going to
Oh my god, I've seen things like that being said like by wrestling fans where I'm like, leave your room, like go outside.
I was just waiting with Hit Row there. I thought Legado del Fantasma was going to bust into like what was the group? Delinquent Habits, the mariachi that sampled them back in the early 90s, you know? Like really bring it. But this was interesting. This was like kind of a freestyle rap battle, but not quite.
In promo style.
Yeah, in promo
That's
style.
Mm-hmm.
A little more Muhammad Ali and sort of old school fighter rather than just like dropping bars.
Yeah, I liked the execution. I love Top Dollar. I thought he shined again. It's just this crowd did not know what to do, and this is your problem with heel versus heel is that they're booing Legado del Fantasma, and then out comes Hit Row. They're booing them too in terms of going back and forth. And by the end of this segment, I think Swerve Scott and Hit Row were established as a babyface because they were chanting Swerve, they were chanting for Hit Row, but it was kind of hard to watch and get through in terms of both of these heels kind of being perceived as heels by this crowd. I think the crowd was doing what they're supposed to do based on how these guys are presented, so it was weird to see them go back and forth. But I really hope that NXT, if they're going to go forward with this feud, which they will, makes it about face and just turns Hit Row babyface, because these people obviously want to cheer Hit Row, but they have to act like babyfaces first.
Yeah,
and of course the guitar got smashed.
Yes.
Oh, of course, 100%. But I don't want. Well, it's NXT. Maybe it'll be different. I don't like when they turn them babyface and then they might change the cool factor that they have now going on. So that worries me.
Yeah,
I really don't think these two should be feuding. Like, I love both of these guys, but there's just too many heels in NXT. I mean, we got a heel versus heel main event in a sense, and so I mean, I really like Hit Row the way it is. I like Legado del Fantasma the way it is, and it's just weird that they're insisting on having these two factions feud with each other.
I think Hit Row and MSK could be a really fun.
There you go.
And that's heel baby face. You know, I thought they were gonna go after the tag titles just to add more gold to their faction.
By the way, I love the MSK segment tonight.
Yeah.
What? We didn't get to find anything out.
I know, that's what's funny. They're telling us. I think this is going to be a running gag. Is anytime like they're going to show MSK and they'll just be getting done explaining what it means, and that's what it means.
I thought it was must see kids.
I mean, we've talked. I think somebody said that they believed it was marijuana smoking kids. I'm pretty sure it does have something to do with with the reefer.
This just sounds like one of those 21 Jump Street gang names.
Yeah.
You know? Like the
really
MSK.
Does.
What's that stand for? Marijuana smoking kids. Like Captain Fuller has to explain it, you know? And then Peter Deluise is like, oh, the kids these days. And it's like, dude, you're 22 years old. No, I think this was a good segment. Cutting to Imperium, that was a good troll job. But yeah, at this point, any reveal for what MSK stands for is not going to be as cool as the mystery, right?
And how is Imperium just popping in and like hijacking the entire program? Like, how are they doing that? Like, I know they have FaceTime Walter, but how are they just taking over the entire like program like that? I was like, wait, they get magic powers? Have they been training with Alexa? Maybe Bailey? I don't know. Somebody from the main roster taught these kids how to take over like the screens and everything.
Well, maybe they've used their free time this pandemic to go to Full Sail University, learn a little television production, and now they know how to go in and out and do the transitions and all that stuff.
They do have a great sports broadcasting program.
Yeah,
they do.
Dan Patrick.
Yeah.
There you go. So we got a promo. The way might be falling apart. Stay tuned to see what happens. We had.
I like that segment though. I actually really like them arguing, and Indy was like, "If Austin wants to kiss Dexter, he can." I love that. We need this kiss ASAP.
They're really prolonging relationship development between them. So we had another first round match in the NXT Breakout Tournament. Andre Chase versus Odyssey Jones, with Odyssey Jones picking up the win. Issa, what'd you think of these two talents?
I thought it was another week of really good wrestling in the Breakout Tournament, and even the person that lost looked great in defeat. Chase, I thought, looked amazing. I thought he did a couple of spots where I thought he was going to win the match, but overall, Odyssey took it over, and he looks like a beast. I love seeing these bigger guys coming into the Breakout Tournament. But it was very clear, babyface, heel. Like, they've been doing really good with these matches in the last 2 weeks, establishing who's who.
Yeah, I think Odyssey Jones is a very impressive looking guy. They did have kind of a very scary spot where he dropped Andre Chase and landed on his face and whatnot. I was surprised at the fact that he took a couple of bumps in this match, but I can see the potential with Odyssey Jones in that he moves very well in the ring. And also a lot of big guys in WWE are just very big and they're not necessarily tall, but he's very big and he's very tall. He just looks like a monster. Right. And for a guy that size, 405 pounds, moves very well. And I'm very excited about as excited as you can be after what they did to Karrion Kross last night, but I'm pretty excited about this prospect in seeing him improve. And he might be the favorite to win based on how they presented him, because from the moment this match started, it was just all about putting over Odyssey Jones and how big and strong he was.
Yeah. Justin Lopez 499. He's a more agile Mark Henry. I could see why he's on the road already doing dark matches.
Yeah, he had the Mark Henry tribute outfit. He looked like the 90s era Nation of Domination Mark Henry tonight with the Pan-African stripes. I really like that. And I just loved watching this guy in the ring. He's a very impressive guy to watch.
Yeah, it was my first time watching him, and I thought he looked amazing. And like you said, I was like, this guy could win it all. But, I mean, we'll see where they go. But I'm enjoying seeing the new talent and just seeing they look different. So far, everybody they brought out looks different, where I feel like NXT, everybody kind of like looks the same sizes, same everything. I'm excited for, just a little bit of newness coming in.
Absolutely. Thatcher and Ciampa. Dunn and Lorcan challenge them to a match next week. Alfred, are you excited?
Not really. I mean, we'll see where this goes. It's just like, I feel like they're wasting Pete Dunne in this tag team. He really should kind of go off and branch off on his own. But I mean, he did kind of lose in that group of guys to Karrion Kross. So, I mean, I think they could do better with all four of these guys, maybe with the exception of, only Lorcan is fine and whatnot. But I feel like all four of these guys should just kind of go their separate ways, maybe be singles guys. But I do like Thatcher and come on, why am I blanking on his name? Thatcher and Ciampa. I like them together as a team in terms of chemistry-wise, but I think they might have run their course as a tag team, and it's time to just kind of go their separate ways. But they haven't really tried that hard to promote this feud, I feel like. It's
feeling repetitive with these guys, and they need a little more pop. It's kind of like remember when Steven Seagal and Jean-Claude Van Damme would make just not the movies where they would pair them up, or not like Time Cop, but remember it would just be like, oh, Lionheart with like another straight-to-video Jean-Claude Van Damme film. Like, you really got to mix it up. Steven Seagal, like in Under Siege, fantastic. Van Damme and Time Cop, one of my favorite movies of all time. But you have to work in an X factor, because you can't just have sort of like, well, these guys are really talented wrestlers and they're going to beat each other up. Like, that's not interesting, strangely enough.
Right.
I love that. This is like a straight to DVD feud. I mean, because they're not getting any ring time. They're not getting the big premiere. It is straight to DVD.
And there's no story. Oh, you think you're tough? We'll see how tough you really are. Yeah. That is not a storyline.
Yeah.
Well, I guess in NXT, straight to DVD will be like next week. And then like a good feud will go into a takeover. So, that's the version of straight to DVDs. They're going to put it on TV, not on a takeover.
I mean, that's why Pete Dunne was so great with Matt Riddle. Because then it was like, ooh, you've got the mismatched chemistry. That's interesting all of a sudden. It's like Steven Seagal and the Glimmer Man with Keenan Ivory Wayans. You go like, how's this going to work out? Got to change things up. So $1 Million Champion LA Knight against Drake Maverick. Drake Maverick getting the win tonight.
Yeah, that's exactly where I saw this going. The second I saw that segment with Drake Maverick earlier, it's like, okay, so he's gonna, Cameron Grimes is gonna fool Drake or fool LA Knight into getting pinned, or he's gonna upstage him somehow. That's pretty much where this angle is going. So I really don't have that much of a problem with this. And I love the dynamic of LA Knight kind of moving around Cameron Grimes like he was Queen Elizabeth. This very much reminded me of Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth, where he's telling him where to stand, and they're doing that same thing. So that was kind of funny. And I fully expected LA Knight to lose, and that does play into the storyline,
I didn't, and it took me a second to kind of like go back and understand where they were going with it storyline wise, because I was like, why did he just he's such, I don't like champions being pinned. That being said, I think we're building to something else here. I did like the evil side of LA Knight trying to get him to attack trying to get his Cameron Grimes to attack Drake after the match. I thought that was great.
I would love to see Drake Maverick win and think that he gets $1 million if he wins $1 million championship. And then LA Knight tries to stipulate that you have to have $1 million. So Drake goes around looking for a loan just to sit on the money so he can keep the championship.
There you go.
Or goes and applies for jobs, and when they give salary requirements, he says $1 million.
$1 million.
Preferably in cash in advance.
And how about Cameron Grimes really committing to his character after that match where LA Knight made him punch Drake Maverick and he was just so complete. I mean, Cameron Grimes is a great performer where he sat on the turnbuckle and just threw that tantrum. I thought that was really well done.
Now down the line, Cameron Grimes, you pair him up with Pete Dunne, that's gold.
Gold. That might be what Pete Dunne needs in terms of a character, something to grab hold of. Because he was great with Matt Riddle and when he had something to play off of. And with Oney Lorcan, it's just not there. They're pretty much the same guy. They both need somebody who they can play off of with a lot of charisma and star power and character.
Yes. They should be in a feud with Hit Row and see if they can both not corpse during like them dropping bars.
Yes.
That'd be great.
Michael Sachs Jr. $2 saying, nice jersey, Alfred. Hey. Bucks and 6, love the show.
Let's go, Bucks. 77 to 73 last I checked. So let's keeping it tight. The Bucks are on their way to another NBA championship.
Man, and NXT's hot tonight. We got more people out live here tonight. Sunday night was like probably the largest audience we had. I think it was even bigger than Mania. Like there's interest in wrestling again.
That's good. Yeah.
It's back.
I think the Karrion Kross thing is what's really brought people out tonight. But it's good to see that the whole product is kind of rising all the boats.
What would you do to get this Karrion Kross thing back on track? Does he just I don't know, murders Jeff Hardy next week?
Oh, he has to. I mean, that's got to happen like repeatedly. Like it's got to be a more vicious beating than what Owens did to Jericho when they wrote him off TV. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, this has just got to be like attacking on the stretcher. He's got to show up at the hospital, like, and then even like at the funeral. Just be like, I'm just going to drop some elbows into the grave.
Yeah, you know how badass that segment would have been tonight if they would have not done that last night on Raw? Like, he would have looked really badass. He came in full Samoa Joe and took out Regal, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, bare minimum, he's got to beat Jeff Hardy again and, maybe even challenge somebody else and beat them. But, I mean, it's going to take a lot. And I just don't have faith in WWE to do that. Just based on their track record or the research track record with people they screw up. They're just, once they lose that goodwill, it's very hard to come back.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do. And he can't, beating anyone in NXT now doesn't matter because that's now minor league. He's got to pitch a no-hitter against Roman Reigns. He's got to do something to get. But you know what I'm saying? He's got to get credibility back. So
I agree, Glenn. I agree. I think Karrion Kross should squash Roman Reigns in 5
years.
You
shut up. You shut up. I'll leave this podcast right now. No.
Okay, but he's got to beat Bobby in a non-title match. He's got to beat the Intercontinental Champion. But he's got to do something because there's got to be some sort of flex. How do you get that back? How do you go from an undefeated NXT streak? You're the toughest guy.
I got it. He takes out Goldberg.
Yeah, that's a start.
If he can take out Goldberg to what we don't have to see him ever wrestle again, Karrion Kross becomes the biggest baby face, actually, honestly.
To a certain section of the audience, yes, that is true.
So yeah, we're gonna be on Sci-Fi for 2 weeks with NXT. That'll be interesting.
Be interesting. And I'm worried for that rating, especially, the Olympics going on and Sci-Fi is any time a wrestling network has to move networks, it's going to be very tough.
Did you guys see the reference when they said, we're going to be on Sci-Fi and Beth Phoenix said, scary things, zombies. And then he was like, no more zombies.
Yeah, he freaked out.
I was like, I loved it. The way he reacted was the way all of us would have reacted. Like, no zombies in wrestling ever again. I appreciated that.
Xia Li against Raquel Gonzalez tonight. Raquel defending the NXT Women's title. It's got like 10 or 15 minutes. This was solid. Issa, what'd you think of this match?
I thought it was a good match. The size difference was so ridiculous here. Like, it was, I mean, Xia Li, like, really held her own with Raquel Gonzalez, especially visually. They just look ridiculous, like stacked against each other. But once they started wrestling, it took off. It got very good. I think Xia Li kind of looked like she got hurt, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't there a spot in there where she looked like she got very hurt? There was also one spot in which Xia had like Raquel on her knees, and Raquel still looked the same height as her. I was laughing when that happened. I was like, "What is happening here?" But I mean, I hope she's okay, and it's not anything that's gonna take her out. But I didn't have a lot of interest in going into this match because there was nothing really built up other than her calling her out. But the match delivered, and I'm happy they put it on the main event. And they need to find more people that are credible for Raquel.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see what was behind Xia Li's injury because it definitely looked real. You saw the replay, and Raquel Gonzalez landed her full body weight right on Xia Li's
like
rib.
A broken rib or two has to minimum.
Yeah, either rib at the very least knocked the wind out of her because she tried to roll her over for the 3 count and she didn't even move, and then she barely kicked out. So what kind of makes me a little bit skeptical, although I do think it was real, it makes me a little skeptical is the amount of replays they showed on the Twitter feed. They showed it, and they kind of showed Xia Li selling and put the prayer hands up and whatnot, which maybe that is how they would react if it was real. But typically when there's a legitimate injury like that, you don't see anything on the Twitter feed. You do see a couple of replays to see what it was, but they showed replay after replay after replay on this. So I don't know if this was the plan finish, but it definitely did seem real in terms of Xia Li being hurt because Raquel kind of had to slow up and she was waiting for her to get up, and that did not happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't see as many replays with the Mercedes Martinez thing, which was definitely knocked out. They didn't show it. They showed, I think, a replay on TV, but I didn't see it on social media or anything from their accounts. So this might be if it's if like you said, if she just knocked the wind out of her, or like she was out for like a second, that's different. But I to me, that looked like maybe a broken rib. I've broken 2 ribs drunk partying. I know what that's like. Edible story. I was celebrating. I was celebrating the Lakers winning a championship, and I fell and I landed on something. And I remember saying, "I think I just broke a rib." And then I got up and I kept drinking. And then the next morning, I was in the hospital.
What a champ! Could you breathe? Did you breathe the next morning?
No. That's how I knew something was really wrong. And then I was like, as long as I could get up, I was going to keep partying. But then the next day, and then broken ribs are the worst because there's nothing they can do. You have to let them heal.
Just got to breathe through it,
Yeah, it was 2. It's 2 broken ribs.
Wow.
So what happens when you party hard in 6-inch heels sometimes, man.
And were you at an Applebee's when this happened?
No, I wasn't.
Shout out to Applebee's.
Were you at the Olive Garden in Times Square, perhaps?
No, but oh my God, I took my mother there one time and I hated every second of it, but she freaking asked for it, and I'm like, you are so lucky that I love you, mother.
It's funny. We travel all over New York. We go to Brooklyn a lot. We go, especially for vegan food, but we stay in Times Square because we go see a lot of Broadway shows in the theater. And I swear we've eaten at that Olive Garden now like 3 times.
Why would you come to New York and eat at Olive Garden?
I know, and I was talking to my wife about this the other day. I was like, you realize we've been to pizza places. We've never been to an actual Italian restaurant in New York.
Yeah, but go to Little Italy. You don't go to Olive Garden.
It was right across from our hotel. It had a nice view.
Next time you're in town, just call me, okay, Glenn, please. We
got the soup, salad, and breadsticks. It was lovely. We sat there, got a little drunk, and looked at the view, and then stumbled back to our hotel.
Everybody that visits, if you see this restaurant in your hometown, don't eat there.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like, come on. Like, you have the best cuisines in the world.
I agree. We all we do is like pizza, like vegan pizza, vegan food. That's all we normally do. But for some reason,
Little Italy. You go to Little Italy if you want Italian. You don't go to Olive Garden in Times Square.
I'm saying, when it's breadsticks in Little Italy better than Olive Garden.
Oh, that's a good question.
Why would you eat breadsticks at Little Italy?
I'm saying when you get out of Beetlejuice on Broadway at 11:30 at night and you just want to eat something before you go back.
Then you go to Joe's Pizza. You go to Two Bros Pizza. You don't go to Olive Garden. Glenn, you're not winning this one. No, I know New Yorkers in the chat are going to be pissed off. I know they are.
No, it's all good. But let's talk. So we thought Raquel Gonzalez retains, show's over, but then no, Samoa Joe comes out. He's calling out Karrion Kross. Karrion Kross is on the screen. He's showing off the belt, and then we see William Regal down at his feet. They really need consistent security in that parking lot.
There's too many crimes happening there.
Why? Could you imagine how over it would be if they brought back Breeze and Fandango and they were just parking lot security guards? Like in every show, that's all. They didn't even wrestle. They're just in the parking lot in rent-a-cop uniforms.
That would be a lot of fun.
That would be a solid gimmick. But Regal beat up on the ground in the parking lot.
His little head showing in the corner of the screen. Like, it looked like the DVD logo just like sitting there in the corner of the screen. It was
it's a good ending. I mean, this match is happening at TakeOver, right? But I mean, Samoa Joe might win. Samoa Joe might win this.
I mean, we'll see. See, now we have some intrigue in the match. I guess that's a good thing, and that there's no guarantee Karrion Kross is going to win. I think he still should, if they're going to do anything with him, if he's going to go on the main roster. But I'm very much looking forward. It's just weird that they're bringing back Samoa Joe. This is going to be his first match back, presumably. They've already kind of set up his other two feuds with Adam Cole, with Pete Dunne. So if his first match back is him losing, then he goes on to Adam Cole and or Pete Dunne with very little momentum. I think that'd be very weird.
I was just saying last week that Karrion Kross should beat Samoa Joe because he's such a monster. How do you completely kill that momentum? I just realized that. Now I'm like, well, I don't think he should win anymore. You ruin everything in a matter of 3 minutes, man.
Yeah. Oh, man. So overall, Alfred, what'd you think of the show tonight?
It was a fine. Listen, on its own merits, I guess it was okay. There was nothing too spectacular that stood out to me. It was okay. It was just okay for me.
Yeah, I thought it was one of the hardest ones to watch that we have gotten in a while. I was good in ring action, but I was not very entertained. I found myself reading Matt Riddle's tweets more than looking up at the TV, and that's not good.
Well, at least he was tweeting about NXT. It wasn't sitting there going, why do hot dogs come in packs of 6, but buns come in packs of 8?
Applebee's, bro.
Yeah. Bro, Applebee's is on DoorDash. Looks like I could bring the experience home. Yeah, I mean, tonight was okay. Just okay.
Just okay. Yeah, it was. I thought the in-ring action was good, but that's every Tuesday. That's never really doubted.
Yeah. Yeah. There you have it. Any other final thoughts, words of wisdom, stories about things that have happened while under substance?
The next time you see me, my Milwaukee Bucks will be NBA champions. I'm putting that in the universe, Bucks in 6.
The next time you visit New York, I will take you to real restaurants.
I go to real restaurants. It was 2 times. It didn't mean anything, Issa. It was just convenience. It was just there.
It didn't mean anything. It's okay. I'll forgive you. I'm telling you, my mom made me take her there. And I'm like, really, Mom? That's where you really, Mom?
What I was shocked about is that New Year's Eve tickets there are $400, but I guess it is all you can drink. They were advertising that when we were there.
Oh, I'm sorry. On New Year's Eve, we leave the city at noon. That's for tourists.
Yeah.
You're not going to find anybody local sitting there in freaking 10-degree weather to watch a freaking ball drop. I don't think so. You can't even move from your spot. The best New Year's Eve is Vegas.
Yeah.
Oh, I celebrated New Year's Eve there. That's another story.
We'll save that for another podcast.
Yep. Let's let Alfred go and watch his NBA game.
I would do that. I'm going to go watch Fallen with Denzel Washington. I have to admit, when I rewatched the first Power last night, it was not as great as I remembered, but still an enjoyable use of my time.
Oh,
that's good to know.
Bray Wyatt, Fallen.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Bray with that gimmick, man. Because that way you could have every wrestler doing an impression of Bray, Bray's inside them.
Yeah.
I'm tight.
I miss Bray.
I miss Bray too. But this is how you have Bray without having Bray. It's perfect. Anyhow, that does it for us. Subscribe, get a notification, poke us on Facebook, add us on MySpace, put us in your top friends on MySpace, because that's status. And,
ICQ me, I'll be online.
On that note, have a great night, everyone. We'll catch you back here on the Wrestling Inc. podcast.